Will the Panthers be able to stay atop of the Atlantic Division, and which team is going to finish number one in the Metro? Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined along by Postmedia hockey columnist Bruce Garrioch and Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons. And guys, with the preseason underway, we are very close to the start of the regular season, so why not begin our divisional previews? And we will start with the Atlantic Division, where the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers took home the divisional crown last season. Bruce, every year it's the same four teams in the mix, seemingly: Florida, Boston, Toronto, and Tampa. Will it be the same cast of characters, or can another team make the jump?
Well, I know they're going to have to make a big jump, and I know Steve is looking at me right now and saying, what a homer. But I do believe that the Ottawa Senators have made some improvements to their roster, Steve, and I think and Rob, and I think that they have an opportunity here with the players that, with getting Linus Ullmark, with signing David Perron, and with bringing in Michael Amadio, and getting Nick Jensen from the Washington Capitals. If they can straighten out a few things, play a little better defensively under Travis Green, I think there's an opportunity here. I, like you guys, think, geez, Toronto, Boston, Tampa, and Florida are locks. But I am starting to wonder, given Jeremy Swayman's contract situation, about the Bruins. I do feel like maybe they're a little bit ripe for plucking, Steve. I also wonder about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know I went on it ad nauseum about loyalty and Steven Stamkos, but they didn't keep him either. And that's your captain, and that's a big change. And I think they are another team to watch.
Here's what we do every September. We downgrade the Boston Bruins because we did it last year because Bergeron and Krejci retired. We do it now because they don't have strength up the middle, although they did sign Lindholm and they lost one of their two signature goaltenders. The year before, they lost Chara. If you go through it, they lost Rask. We're talking about Hall of Fame players they keep losing, and all they keep doing is getting better or more competitive. I have great belief in Don Sweeney. I have great belief in the coach, Jim Montgomery. I think the Atlantic Division is stacked. Boston or Florida will finish first. The Maple Leafs will be right there with them. I think those three teams, and I think Tampa drops a little bit, but they're still a 90 to 100-point team. Now it's a question of who comes after. This is the deepest and strongest division in hockey. And every time we think, well, Tampa's about to drop, John Cooper's still there, and Vasilevsky's still there, and Kucherov is still there. They know how to, and Hedman, one of the best defensemen in the NHL still, they know how to win. They know how to play. And the coach knows how they are playing. The difference with Ottawa and any of the teams below them is we don't know exactly what those teams are yet because they haven't become. What is Travis Green going to make the Ottawa Senators? And can he make them into the team? Do all of the parts equal the team? Because if they do, that's going to be a competitive group. But if Lindy Ruff can do that with the Buffalo Sabres and all of their parts, then they're going to be in that spot too. And there's a lot of moving pieces right now. Yeah, and I'm not as high on Detroit as I am on Ottawa and Buffalo talent-wise. I don't think they have the depth of talent that the other teams have. They may have finished above them numbers-wise, just as Washington finished above teams in the East that they weren't better than. Just circumstantially, that's what happened. But I think in the East, what you're trying to do is get in the game. That's the important thing. Be in the game. Get in. And by get in the game, I don't mean like playing your 60 minutes of a hockey game. I mean, get in the standings so you're there beside Tampa. You're 2 points behind. You're 4 points behind. You're within, in March, you're within a game of getting into one of those spots. If Ottawa and or Buffalo can do that in the Atlantic Division, then you might have 6 very good hockey teams in one division.
Well, and the demand here in Ottawa, quite frankly, is that Travis Green has to make some of those young forwards. He's got to have about 6 Selke candidates if they're right. Like if they're going to make the next step, and Linus Ullmark is going to have to win the Vezina net. it's a quick turnaround. It's possible, but they are going to have to make some tremendous improvements.
See, but I think the changes are more subtle than that, Bruce. I think if they can get that save in the first 5 minutes that they didn't get last year, it's one save. It's one different shot. If you can get that save in the first 5 minutes that they didn't get last year, your whole team doesn't have to be better defensively. Your goalie's got to be better. So if your goalie's better and your team gets better defensively and they can score more goals and their special teams are better, and if all those little increments happen, the whole team gets better. But I think, you know what? When you have, I'm going to quote one of my old coaching buddies, if you don't have goaltending, you don't have a team. You can't respond. You can't play. You can't do any of those things. And so if they get from Ullmark what they think they're going to get, they thought they were going to get it from Murray. They thought they were going to get it from Korpisalo. If they think that if they're going to get it now, it's going to push them in a position. And at the same time, the Buffalo Sabres have a goalie in the second half of last year who looked awfully good. And we'll see how that works out with that young veteran defense they have, which is really the envy of almost all teams in hockey right now.
Well, as we shift to the Metropolitan Division, it's pretty clear that the Rangers and Hurricanes are the cream of the crop, Steve. And after that, it's a group of 5 teams that are going to be battling for that third spot. Which one do you think will be able to lock it down?
You know what? It's the way I look at the East. It's almost 6 teams or 7 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots, because I don't see anyone knocking out the Rangers and Carolina. I don't see anyone knocking out Toronto, Boston, Florida, and Tampa. So those 6, now it's fight for those 2 spots. And who's it going to be? The Islanders have that sort of veteran team with very good goaltending, and they don't do anything particularly fascinating to watch. They're not exciting, and other than Matt Barzal, but they know how to play. And I think Patrick Waugh, a full year of Patrick Waugh, might make them even better. I like the talent on the Jersey Devils. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Sheldon Keefe, with the Calgary goalie, he gets the goaltending he didn't get in Toronto, in Jersey, with all those young, talented guys there and some nice offseason pieces added to that. I look at Jersey as the third team in the division, but you look around that, there's Pittsburgh, there's Washington, there's a lot of teams that aren't all that good, that is a mishmash. They're all the same, I think.
I think you make the good point on Jersey. I think, Rob, they're the team that, I don't want to say they're a little bit forgotten about, but I think that's the way to put it. They had a great year the year before under Lindy Ruff, right? And everybody kind of had them to make the next step last season. They didn't make that step. In fact, they took a step back. But I'm like Steve. I have a great amount of respect for the way that Sheldon Keefe coaches, and I think that they have the opportunity to jump to third in that division. You're right. Just because of the way they play hard, and I think that Sheldon Keefe will make them play harder. But I also feel like Patrick was the kind of coach who he rallies the troops, right? And I think he's the kind of guy that drags everyone into battle with him. But as I sit here, I say, gosh, look at the job that John Tortorella did last year. I think in the end, they were quite happy to miss the playoffs because they wanted a high draft pick. But you can't just dismiss the John Tortorella team either. It will be. I think I like you, Rob. I'm willing to concede the top 2 teams. But I do think it's a bit of a flip of a coin with several teams in the mix after that.
Here's how I view the teams that will move up if they do. Markstrom is a major league goaltender and has historically been pretty darn good. And he'll make Jersey better because he's pretty darn good. Sorokin is a top 10 NHL goalie. So he gives the Islanders a chance most nights because he's Sorokin. Who's in goal for Pittsburgh? Who's in goal for Washington that's of that caliber? And so the other teams don't have those kind of goaltenders. Now, maybe this is the year that one of the goalies in Pittsburgh, does what he's never done before and pulls a Matt Murray and does that kind of thing. But we don't know. And, I think that the Penguins team, to me, is getting older and not necessarily better. And so, and Washington, I don't know how Washington made the playoffs last year. I think we need to, we could do an entire week of series of how that team with those players made the playoffs. I can't figure it out, but they did. And I think that guy's a hell of a coach, Carberry, over there. But you look through now, and I'm going to include Montreal a little bit in the East because I think they have some talent on that team. And so there's a lot of teams that, with a little bit of goaltending and a little bit of these two guys are going to have a great year compared to those two guys over here. There's a lot of places for movement in the bottom half, the entire bottom half of the Eastern Conference.
Well, great points made by both of you guys. And as we know, every year there's one or two teams that tend to surprise. So we'll see which of these teams at the bottom of the list that we currently have is going to be able to take that next step. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Steve Simmons and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.